Welcome to the Onion Buns. So, Carney in China, his collusion and the corruption, it's mind-boggling. It really is. So, over the weekend, last Friday, I'm filming this on Tuesday, April 1st. Don't worry, I slept till noon, so I avoided all the April Fool's crap. So, one of Carney's MPs out of Toronto, Markham, he made an insane comment a couple months ago where he suggested to Chinese residents that they should grab, we don't want to say the K word because apparently the Liberals are starting to sue people who dare to, use proper English terminology. So no, I'm just going to say grab. His political opponent in a neighboring riding, so it's not even his own riding. His conservative opponent is a pro-democracy Chinese person. He was born in Hong Kong and he came to Canada fleeing the insane dictatorship of China. And he has a YouTube channel and he promotes democracy in China. So China's response to that was to put a $1 million Hong Kong funds. So I don't know the exchange. I've heard it's 180,000. I've heard it's 800,000. I don't know what the exchange is. It's a lot of money. We'll leave it at that. They put a bounty on him for anyone that will bring him back to China so he can stand trial. Well, we know from just a couple weeks ago that there was 4 Canadians executed in China for minor offenses. And then we had the 2 Michaels prior to that were jailed for forever and their lives were in danger. So basically, this was a death sentence for this man. And this Liberal MP thought it would be a good idea to incite the crowd saying, grab him, take him to the Chinese consulate and you get $1 million of Hong Kong funds. Carney stuck up for this guy. Carney supported this guy. Carney refused to expel this guy from his party. Now, keep in mind, Carney is riding in a riding where he expelled the legally elected MP for that riding over claims of India interference without any evidence. Like, there's no evidence. He just said it and gone. Poof. There's actual evidence. This guy has admitted to saying this. We have it in the newspapers. The Chinese newspapers printed it. And Carney says, well, no, he apologized, so it's all good. It's all good. He apologized. I mean, that alone is insane. So people started digging into Carney and they've been finding out how conflicted and corrupted he really is with China. And this isn't new news. When he was running the Bank of England, he tied England to China, and that did not work out well for the UK. Like, there is a reason why all the UK papers and media are telling us daily not to elect this guy. They've been doing this for months. Ever since Carney's name started appearing, they've been warning us off of him. The last Prime Minister of England is doing interviews telling us to warning us to not elect him, to get rid of him. He's not good. He destroyed their economy. Like, that's him and his net zero, which he wants to bring to Canada, basically destroyed the English economy, and they are struggling to try to rebuild it now, just as we are struggling to try to survive the last 10 years of Trudeau and Carney. So Carney is really conflicted, compromised by China. Just before he went into his leadership bid, he took for Brookfield a $250 million loan from China. And that's on him. So it's probably a good bet that the only reason Brookfield got that loan is because it was known to them that Carney was going to be running for the Canadian Prime Minister. And I mean, who wouldn't want to buy a country for $250 million? I mean, in a sense, that's what's happening. So yeah, there's a long list. And also, like, Carney mined American coal, killed American coal miners, cut off their medical insurance. They're sick, they're dying. When they fought back, he took them all the way to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court ruled in favor of the coal miners, but I mean, they're already on death's bed, so Carney's getting his wish. Either way, he dragged it out until they were, they're no longer really an issue for him. I keep saying this. This man is evil. He is probably the most evil politician I've ever seen in Canada in my 59 years of life. And that's including people like Justin Trudeau and Pierre Elliott Trudeau. So, he's worse. So anyway, no matter what people say or do, there is a segment out there that is never going to believe this. So how about we just listen to Carney? Will you believe Carney's words? I mean, he is a pathological liar, so I personally don't believe anything he says anymore. But you apparently do believe him, so let's hear his words.
The momentum behind this agenda is now tremendous. and it'll be important that China is center stage to shape this new global, sustainable financial system. The momentum behind this agenda is now tremendous, and it'll be important that China is center stage to shape this new global, sustainable financial system.
There you go. Right out of Carney's own mouth. China will be the main focus, period. Everybody else, no, he's focused on China. Carney is a bought puppet of China. The WEF and the UN have been purchased by China. And this is old news. Like, you just have to look, open your eyes and look, and you can see China's invested heavily in the WEF and the UN. And they pretty much run the show there of unelected power brokers, billionaires, of which Carney is one of them. And you just heard it right out of his own mouth, his agenda. Not Canada, not the US, not England, China. That is who he serves. You can elect them. God forbid that happens, but you can elect him, but that's not going to change anything. He's still going to serve China. Canada, like with Justin Trudeau, Canada did not even rank in the top 5 priorities for Justin Trudeau. I'm going to go so far as to say Canada does not rank in the top 10 priorities for Mark Carney. Like, people, wake up. I know the CBC and the CTV and the Globe and Mail, they're not covering this stuff. Like, even with Chong, the MP that put out the bounty on his opponent, CBC didn't cover it for 4 days. Then they did one newscast where they mentioned it. And then the next day, when everybody else, even CTV and Globe and Mail and Global and all of them were talking about Chong, CBC's head story was the bullshit story on Poilievre's security clearance, which was explained in full 3 years ago. And even Thomas Mulcair says he would have never got the security clearance either under those conditions. So you need to understand that the mainstream media is bought. They are bought by the Liberals with your tax dollars. They are not media anymore. They are propaganda arms for the Liberal Party. So you have, it's imperative that you do your own homework now. You know, I got a friend, he's a radical extremist alt-left socialist. And I was talking, this is about 2 months ago, I guess. And I was talking to him over coffee and he was ranting and like he suffers Trump derangement syndrome. He's got the second worst Trump derangement syndrome of people I know. And he was ranting and raving. And, you know, it's like, I don't like Trump. I've never liked Trump, but I go on the issues. I go on the facts. I don't let emotion cloud my judgment. I don't do the virtue signaling or the emotional manipulation. I just go on the facts. I look them up and I learn them. So he was ranting and raving about Trump and Musk and blah, 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 blah. And I got tired of it because we're Canadian. There is absolutely nothing we can do about, especially back then, about, this is before the tariffs, about Trump and Musk. It's like they were elected in the States. We're Canadian. We need to make sure Canada is strong. So I said, like, why do you bitch about the Americans so much, yet you know nothing about Canada? And his answer is, well, I want to sleep at night. I'm like, yeah, but you vote. Yeah, but you don't know anything. You are voting on ideology only. You're not voting on substance. And that drives me insane. And that's what the CBC, the CTV, and all the mainstream media are betting on. People like him, you know, they're betting he'll see enough clips. And he says he doesn't watch them, but I know he does. And they're betting that their spun stories and their refusal to speak on certain issues will influence him enough. To me, that's dishonest. That really is. Just like Carney's connection to China should disqualify him from even holding any public office, not even prime minister, but any elected office. He is compromised. I mean, that's fine for his business. We have laws, and if we have a strong enough government, we can apply the laws to him. The Liberals never did apply the laws to Brookfield, and that's a shame because now we know that Brookfield withheld over $20 billion in taxes that would have benefited Canada, but Brookfield never paid them. So yeah, so now you just heard Carney. What his agenda is, he wants to make China the #1 economic force in the world, and everyone will revolve around China. That is his goal. That's not good for us, people. That's not good for the world. Alrighty, let's take a look through Twitter on this topic and read the different headlines and the different watch the different videos on this, because this is an important topic. So I don't want to minimize this one.
This is the pressure to boot him is going to continue.
Absolutely. Vash, you look at just what has happened. You
mentioned that Paul Chang made these comments in January, but since then, China has executed 4 Canadians, right? So we still remember very clearly what happened to the 2 Michaels. What is significant about this, about Paul Chang's comments in regards to the Conservative candidate, is that Joe Tay is considered a democracy activist. He's been outspoken on his YouTube channel in terms of pointing out all the ways that the Hong Kong government has violated civil rights. So the point of the matter is that the Hong Kong government, Hong Kong police, basically does the bidding of the Chinese Communist government now. They are acting on behalf of China. So right now, the fact that someone could say that, you know, even in a joking manner, that perhaps someone should turn in Joe Tay to the Chinese consulate, that is, first of all, not a joke at all. And the other thing is, we have to remember that democracy activists across the world have been kidnapped by Chinese agents and basically disappeared into the prison system and possibly executed. So Mark Carney has to act. The Liberal Party has to act on this, because not acting shows that they are not taking foreign interference seriously and are once again turning a blind eye, perhaps in the future, to meddling.
So if the first video I showed you wasn't enough for you on how corrupted and compromised he is, here he is talking about China again.
One of the many strengths of China is their perspective, their medium long-term perspective. This is an ambitious G20. It's an ambitious Chinese leadership.
That is basically, I admire China's basic dictatorship, exactly what Justin Trudeau said in 2015. Mark Carney saying it in 2025. Same party, same people, slightly different body shapes. Okay, here's the one I watched the most, is Michael Chong. Now, for those of you that don't know, Michael Chong, in the last federal election, himself, his family, they got death threats from China, from the Chinese government. They were on a Chinese hit list, and the Liberals covered it up. This is where all this security stuff for Poilievre came in. Poilievre has been asking for the 11 names that are proven to be compromised in Canadian politics by the Chinese government. We've learned through leaks that it was 10 Liberals and 1 Conservative, but we don't know the names to this day because Justin Trudeau and Mark Carney will not release the names. So Poilievre kept asking for the names, and Justin and Carney kept saying, sign your security clearance and we'll give you the names. But if Poilievre signed that security clearance, he wouldn't be able to talk about it. And that's what Justin and Carney want. And that's why you see even to this day, Carney and Jugmeat keep bringing it up over and over and over that Poilievre doesn't have a security clearance. But we know it's been 1000% proven already. The reason why Poilievre refused his security clearance is it's a gag order. It's intended to shut him up and not talk on these topics. So what good is knowing the names if you can't talk about them? And if you do talk about them, you break law and you go to jail. Signing that security clearance is a lose-lose for Pierre Poilievre, so he's refused. Even Thomas Mulcair has come out and said, nope, I wouldn't have signed it either. Even Warren Kinsella, Liberal War Room Warren Kinsella, has said, no, Poilievre should never sign that. So this is where it all started, was the 11 names tied to China in the last federal election. Michael Chong was the target. He received death threats. His family received death threats because he was pro-democracy. You know, are we seeing a trend here? So anyway, this is what Michael Chong had. Paul Chang has uttered one of the most undemocratic things ever said in an election, that his political opponents be handed over to a hostile regime for a bounty. Mark Carney's decision to stand behind Chen will negatively impact our democracy for years to come. I agree 100% with Michael Chong. But here's Mark Carney talking about it. Reporters are actually pressing him, asking for the removal. As we know, Carney would not remove him, refused to remove him. Chang has now resigned today. But for 4 days, Carney said an apology was enough. And here we go.
Paul Chang, one of your candidates in Markham, talked about turning over a Conservative candidate to the Chinese Consulate to receive a bounty placed on him by the Chinese Communist Party. Can you explain why you've not dropped him as a Liberal candidate?
Thank you for the question. Look, the comments were deeply offensive. This is a terrible lapse of judgment by Mr. Chang. He has apologized for those comments.
Actually, he hasn't. So Carney knows this. And the other thing you're going to hear in this is Carney can't even say, he contacted the conservative member, Jay Tay, I think it was called. I forget his name myself, but I'm not a politician. Carney can't even say Jay's name. He refuses. That's how arrogant this piece of shit is. Your MP tried to get him grabbed and taken to the Chinese consulate to be taken to China to stand trial and die, and you can't even say the MP's name. Like, that's just, yeah.
He has apologized directly now to the person that he mentioned. Apologized directly to him yesterday.
Yes,
I've spoken to Mr. Chang as well over the course of the weekend to understand his position. He is a veteran policeman. Mr. Chang is a veteran policeman with more than a quarter century of service.
Okay, now he's going into spin. This has nothing to do with what we are talking about. And I'm going to play the whole clip, but it has absolutely nothing to do with the topic. He's trying to move away from the topic rather than address it. Just address the damn topic.
To his community. 28 years of defending rights in this community. And he will continue with his candidacy going forward, having made those apologies very clearly to the individual, to the community.
No, he hasn't. Carney's lying again. Every bloody freaking day, Carney lies.
And moving forward to serve.
He's come out and said apologies not sufficient, and then previous to this, he was speaking with the RCMP about his safety. So I'm just wondering why you feel comfortable continuing with a candidate that was parroting Chinese Communist Party talking points to try and attack a political candidate.
He thinks it's funny. Look at that fucking little smirk on his face. He thinks it's a joke.
Look, this is a person of integrity who's served this community.
Your person of integrity took out a B word on another Canadian citizen, on another Canadian political member. He is now under investigation by the RCMP because what he did was a crime. He's not a person of integrity.
Community, as a senior police officer for, as I said, more than a quarter century. He's made a terrible lapse in judgment. He's made an apology for that. It's also an individual who has family in Hong Kong. He's under no illusions about the situation there, the situation in broader China. He's made those apologies. He's made them directly to the individual
No, he hasn't. Quit fucking lying.
concerned. He's made them directly to me. He has my confidence. Thank you.
It's not just opposition parties calling for Mr. Chang's resignation, it's also at least 13 civil society groups. What message are you sending to Canadians who are worried about pressure from...
Hear that sigh? He's getting angry. This is what happens when Carney gets pushed. He gets angry. It's a good thing this isn't a woman asking the questions, because then he'd get downright belligerent and sexist. And it baffles me why women in Canada turn a blind eye to it for him. Like I've grown up and seen people like him where they put this facade on in public, but you can see the deep anger seething under their skin. Like they want to blow.
in China when you allow him to stay on? And how can you credibly criticize Pierre Poilievre for his lack of security clearance when Mr. Chang is considered a worthy candidate?
Well, I deeply offended by those comments. As I said, they're a terrible lapse of judgment. I view this as a teachable moment. It underscores the respect with which we treat human rights in this country, the differences between Canadian society and other countries. This, after all, though, I will go back to the character of the individual who made a lapse judgment. This is someone who has served our community, has been on the front line of policing.
This is somebody who was under investigation 4 years ago for colluding with China. He's one of the names on the list from all rumors. I can't say for sure, so I'm not going to say he's on the list. Just every rumor out there has his name on the list. Trudeau and Carney can release a list. Like, make no mistake, that list can be released. You don't need a security clearance for it. They refuse to release it.
For almost 3 decades. And has been standing up for those rights and has that track record for it. He's made his apology. He made it to the public. He made it to the individual
No, he didn't. Quit fucking lying.
concerned, made it directly to me, and he's going to continue with his candidacy. Thank you.
I notice multiple GTA area candidates behind you. If you're still standing behind Mr. Chang, why isn't he standing behind you today?
He has other responsibilities in his riding. We don't have we have multiple, but not every candidate.
Mr. Carney, I'd like to press you a little bit more on Paul Chang. He lives in a riding that is 70% diverse, people of color. Half of that are people.
Look at that face. He's angry. Like, he is not happy right now. You can tell by the, like, look at this face right here. That is a face of seething anger that these reporters are not following his scripted plan.
From Chinese ethnic origin, and of that population, about 20% are from mainland China. The question that people from Hong Kong have asked me to ask is whether or not you are putting appeal to those voters who may support the policies of China ahead of the democratic rights and safety of dissidents who have called Canada home, and mainly Hong Kong democracy activists who now live in Mr. Chang's riding?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Stand foursquare for rights, foursquare for our position, our very strong position vis-a-vis China, respect for Canadian citizens, all rights of Canadian citizens, irrespective of whether they hold dual citizenship or not, to be absolutely clear. And Mr. Chang has long history of service to that community, history of protecting those rights. Mr. Chang is well aware of these issues, including having family in Hong Kong.
How can he be an effective representative for them when they no longer trust him after he said this? The question, as you know, Mr. Carney, you know that Canada has executed 4 Canadians this year.
China.
You know that there are human rights activists in China in detention right now. How can Mr. Chang, how can your party keep him as a candidate knowing this context?
Mr. Chang has apologized for his comments. It's a lapse of judgment. He's apologized for his comments. He's apologized directly to me. He's apologized directly to the individual.
Stop
he has a long record of
fucking
service.
lying.
He's going to continue his candidacy.
So yeah, sorry, when he lies, I get pissed off because we really need people to start calling him out on his lies because he does it every fucking day. I just want to make a side note here, and it's got nothing to do with China. This liberal right here, I don't know who it is, but every time I see him, the Oompa Loompa song from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory comes to my mind. All right, so Carney's getting really upset with the media talking about Paul Chang. So here's just another one. Carney gets frustrated at reporters' questions and starts talking about a different topic completely. He refuses to answer the questions and goes off on and this is what Mark Carney does.
It's not just opposition parties calling for Mr. Chang's resignation, it's also at least 13 civil society groups. What message are you sending to Canadians who are worried about pressure from China when you allow him to stay on? And how can you credibly criticize Pierre Poilievre for his lack of security clearance when Mr. Chang is considered a worthy candidate?
Well, the first thing, I can very credibly criticize the leader of the opposition for being at 930 days running and not having a security clearance.
See, I just went over this. He knows why Poilievre doesn't have a security clearance. He's lying again. Everything that comes out of his mouth is a lie.
I will say as well, in the course of my responsibilities, current responsibility, I didn't do that. That wasn't me. I did manage to cut the piece of wood second time running. Although I was under expert supervision. Getting back to these are serious matters, so I appreciate the question. But in the course of my responsibility as Prime Minister, just yesterday, I received an additional briefing on
foreign interference and potential matters related to that. Of course, I can't share any details of that, but it just underscored once again, I take my responsibility seriously, but the extent to which leader of the opposition does not and hasn't for more than 3 years.
It's amazing to me that the left and the media, their bottom paid for media, keep trying to say the Conservatives are the negative party in this election. There's your negative. There is the most divisive, negative person in this election by far. So here's the last one I'm going to show you. Mackenzie Gray of CTV. I asked Carney about Chang, and he said after a conversation with Chang, he still has confidence in him, views this as a teachable moment. That's ridiculous. Adding the incidents were deeply offensive. This is a terrible lapse of judgment. He will continue with his candidacy going forward. Well, actually, he won't. He resigned today. But what I wanted to show you here is Warren Kinsella. Warren Kinsella was the leader of Jean Chrétien's war room in the 90s. He is a die-hard liberal through and through. If there's anything more Justin Trudeau-esque than calling one's own scandal a teachable moment for everyone else, I literally do not know what it is. Mark Carney is Justin Trudeau. He's got a better suit and he doesn't show off his socks, but otherwise he's Justin Trudeau. So there you go. It's I wanted to share that because it's liberals calling out, it's left-wingers calling out the liberals. We need more transparency, and we need to start with the 11 names from the last election that were found to be in collusion with Chinese government. I mean, everyone talks about Russia or the United States. China is the country that's been, or India for that matter, China is the country that's interfered in our last 3 elections. That's proven fact. So why do we not talk about that more? Anyway, that's all I got for you today. If you like this video, leave a like, a subscribe, and a share. I'm trying to grow my channel, and a like, a subscribe, and a share is really greatly appreciated. And don't assume or think for 1 second I don't appreciate it. I really do. And I thank those that do like, share, and subscribe. If you didn't like the video, you're probably a liberal, but you can leave a dislike. Always feel free to leave a comment. Don't worry, I don't swing my cane too strongly anymore if I dislike your comment. And as always, pew, 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 and shit. Thanks for watching. Bye.